I'm going to try to fix up some ideas here. One of them is might be really useful for this pandemic, but you know, we used to, when we were hunting, we was always to hunt downwind. Uh, why is that? It was because our scent would be carried by the wind, and the animal we were hunting would get our scent through that dispersed. So early on, when you're young and you're hunting and you're doing different things like that, people tell you to hunt downwind of the animal. Your brain, after a few years, you start to develop that technique of hunting, and in that technique of hunting, we refer to that disbursement as a wind shadow, and that's the downwind of something. So if you look at, if you take your handful of flour, I hate to waste anything, but if you take dust or a handful of flour and you throw it against something that's standing up, like a tree or something, and you look on the other side, you'll see that tree has restricted some of the movement. Well, think about that as your wind shadow. So as you're walking through the forest, your scent is being blown in different directions behind you if you're going into the wind. This is really applicable to when you're discussing about pandemics, is that when you exhale and you put those molecules of water into the atmosphere, which you're doing all the time, these are very small, and so there's some heavy equipment guys, and they're down there, and they're loading big long poles, and sometimes they bump into each other, so we were watching them, and it was quite funny. It's good funny to watch big equipment because accidents happen with those things. But with your wind shadow, you look at a drift, a snow drift, and if you're out in a field and you'll see like a plant that has stood out of the snow, and behind it will be a pattern, and that's the wind shadow of that plant. So this is just a short little deal on wind and wind shadow. Earth, wind, fire, and water, those are the sacred elements. You may understand them as gas, liquid, heat, and solids. They changed the names so it wouldn't be so ritualistic, I guess. But anyway, environmental eds for educators are, try to find these wind shadows and teach kids about how these things get dispersed in the wind. And I was taught it as a hunter, as a survival technique, and I still use it. If I go to photograph, if you're going to go photograph, you want to get downwind of the animal. But understand, you don't want to get so close that that animal decides he doesn't like you. Okay, that's a good one. That's a wrap.